Good morning, everyone. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All visual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Hearing procedure. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Making your submissions. Where an applicant is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are asked to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Before hearing the first item, we will, I guess we can just do these. I don't have to read what we're going to do. We're going to confirm minutes of the last meeting, which I believe was September 14th. If I can have a motion to adopt those minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Mr. Komorik, and a seconder.
I'll second.
Ms. Ruddock, all in favor? The minutes are carried. I would ask for declarations of interest of panel or staff for items in today's agenda. I see none. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you received any requests for deferral?
We have one from the applicant for item number 6, 15 Holwood Avenue.
Okay, and so my notes are incorrect. I noticed another one, number 16. No?
That's from planning. We can deal with that as well.
We can deal with that as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we do that then? Item 6, 15 Holwood Avenue. And we have, the agent is Graham Barrett. Is Graham on the line?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members.
And just a second, I just want to acknowledge as well, we have a neighbor who is a registered speaker, Ping Heng, from 17 Holwood Avenue. Ping, are you online? She is? Okay, then, Graham, could you please explain to us your reasons for requesting a deferral?
Sure, gladly. The designer's been working with community planning to address some of their comments, specifically around increasing soft landscaping in the front. There may be some other changes forthcoming to these plans. So we do need a little more time to sort that out and get an updated ZAP and return to committee with the correct information.
Okay, thank you. Do any panelists have any questions of Mr. Barrett?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to, the additional dwelling unit, is it existing and in use right now, or is it under construction?
To be honest with you, I'm a little unclear on what's actually existing on the site at the moment. I believe there was a secondary unit, and then the plan was to make it livable space for the rest of the dwelling and only have this as a single detached dwelling. Now the plan may be to continue with an additional dwelling unit. I'm not sure. These are some of the details that need to be sorted out before I return.
So you don't know whether it's occupied or whether the space is occupied or not? There's an order to comply. That's why I'm asking.
Yes, I don't know if it's occupied at the moment, and the order to comply is from quite some time ago, I think. So it's all being rectified. It's a little bit of a convoluted situation.
Okay. Can we speak to Ping Heng? Ping, are you
Hi.
online? Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Have you been
Okay,
listening? You've been listening into this point, so you understand the agent is asking for a deferral. That he does not wish to
Yes.
proceed with this application today. So I would ask you, are you in favor or not of deferring this application today?
Not deferring.
Okay, if you
We
could
would like
just
to go
state
ahead
your
with this.
name and address for the record first.
Yes, your name and address,
Okay,
please.
my name is Ping Heng, and I'm a resident at 17 Holwood Avenue, and I'm also the daughter and sister of the owners of 17 Holwood Avenue.
Okay. But you are the registered speaker, so I need to hear, maybe you already said it and I didn't pick it up. Are you okay with the deferral today?
I'm not okay with that.
You're not
I
okay.
want to get this done today. Yes.
And why do you want to get this done today in spite of what the agent explained?
Because the order to comply has been dragging on for too long, and there is a rental unit, and there are tenants living in there, which need to be legalized.
Okay. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, is it appropriate now to get comments on Ms. Peng's remarks on his deferral request?
Yes, he can rebut since they're not.
Okay, Graham, then I'm going to call on you to rebut Ms. Peng's comments, please.
Okay, well, clearly there are changes being made to the plans. Discussions have been ongoing with community planning staff. We aren't ready to proceed today. We're going to be making improvements in terms of landscaping and getting an updated zoning review. So I would like to do that properly rather than proceeding today with numbers that may not actually show what's going to be on the site at the end of the day. So we're not ready to proceed today. I think a deferral is a reasonable request under the circumstances, and we'll get this matter back before the committee as soon as possible.
Okay, panelists, any questions before we take this matter into committee for a decision?
Just a comment, if I may. My principal concern is that if there is an illegal unit there, that it be legalized and that it comply with building code. And at this point, we don't know whether it does or it does not. And I guess my only comment is by deferring, we're potentially delaying the process to get that unit in a legal and safe state. And it's unfortunate that the applicant claims to be unaware of the current situation at the home, so it makes it just that much more ambiguous.
Anybody else wish to weigh in at this time? Okay, I'm going to take the matter into committee then and ask for a motion to either accept or deny this deferral request.
I'm going to be happy to weigh in, I think. I think in order to give this applicant the best possible outcome, and I think that the neighbor will hopefully be happy with the revisions that he makes, I think I would like to go along with the applicant's request for deferral. So I move for deferral.
Is there a seconder for Ms. Alderson's motion?
Yep, I'll second.
Ms. McCloskey? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's a 4-to-1 affirmative vote, so the matter is deferred sine die.
To the next available.
Thank you very
hearing date.
much.
Okay,
Yes.
to the next available hearing date.
Mr. Chair, can we just pause for a moment? We're trying to resolve some technical issues.
Sure.
So we can get the timer on the screen. So for anyone watching online, we're just going to pause until we can figure that out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the next deferral, I think you said, was item 16, which was already previously deferred, so it's upsetting that they're having to do this again, but maybe we can hear what they have to say.
I noticed that the agent did not pre-register to speak today. Is that correct?
Correct, they're supposed to.
Okay, and I'm just reading the email that the agent, Mr. Sintek, received from Nicole Milrose that since one of the variances on the revised notice is worse than what went out in the public hearing notice, this will mean that your application will be automatically deferred on September the 28th. And I can place your application on the October 26th hearing. So I guess just to officially handle this deferral, if I can get a motion to accept that.
If we can see if, is the agent on the line?
Thank you. There's no one on the line to speak to this? Yes, there is. Oh.
Thank you, Council, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I am here today. We were prepared for today's hearing, but we're advised by Nicole Milrose that due to the variance for rear yard soft landscaping was different from the original zoning notice. So we were requested to defer this until the October 26th hearing.
But why did you submit a revised zoning review on September 14th when you should have made the application complete before we rescheduled you for a hearing date?
So we are taking over the file from a previous applicant on behalf of the owner, and the original application the owner, I guess, was unaware or misunderstood of the missing information from the application form. So by the time we resubmitted all the existing documents that the city had already previously had. And so the revised zoning notice was at the request of the city planning, Anthony Sosha.
Okay.
Any other questions from the panel for Mr. Sintek on this item? If not, I'll call for a motion on the request to defer. Mr. Kamara?
I'll move a motion to defer for proper notice. And just a footnote to staff, it would be appreciated if we could have a location map for this item, because I don't think we had one this time.
It is there. Unfortunately, they didn't put, it's in the previous hearing materials.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it should be in your main document. I've talked to staff about that.
Okay, thank you.
A seconder for Mr. Kamarak's motion?
I'll second.
Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? Okay, this matter has been deferred until the October 26th hearing. Now we can move into the regular items on the agenda, starting with item 1, 44 Henley Crescent. This is to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling, a new front porch, and a new carport. And there are 5 variances, and we have a requested condition from community planning to construct as illustrated on the site plan per the front yard setback. That's the only thing we have on file with this application. Mr. Ben Baghdadi, are you available to speak? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong item. Amu Rafiq. I'm looking at item 2. Now take a motion to dismiss me as chair. Okay. Michaela Silva, I'm very sorry. Are you available to speak to us today?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Yes, I am.
Okay. I don't see that there's really enough detail or complexity here to require a presentation. Could you either, highlight a point or two that you think we need to be aware of that isn't evident, or just leave it to answer any questions that the panel might have?
Yeah, for the sake of time, I think we should just leave it to, the panel. If they have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay. Then panel, do any of you have any questions for Ms. Silva?
I do have one question. You submitted tree photos, but I don't have anything from urban forestry, and I'm just wondering why.
It's an application requirement.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, no trees will be injured or taken out as part of this proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
No other questions? So let's take this matter into committee then, and I will invite a motion.
I'll move to approve the application. I believe it meets 4 tests. That is subject to condition from planning to tie it to the site plans submitted on March 9th as it relates to the front yard setback.
Thank you, Ms. McCloskey. Is there a seconder for Ms. McCloskey's motion?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Unanimously approved. Thank you very much, Ms. Silva. Pamir? So Pamir is registered? Okay. Okay. Item 2 is 1435 Cornwall Road. No, it isn't. Item 2 is 14 Arcade Drive. And I understand we have an agent, Pamir, available to speak to this item. Pamir, are you with us?
Yes, good morning. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, I'm just going to summarize what your application is all about here. This is a 2-story front addition and a new covered porch. 2 variances. Correct?
That's correct.
All right. It seems very straightforward. I don't believe we require a presentation. Would you be okay with having the panel answer any questions that they may have of you before we move to a decision?
I do. I just want to point out one very quick thing, if
Sure.
you don't mind. Okay, so the front porch is all happening behind the front yard set line. I want to make sure that one thing is understood here. The entire addition is happening on the 2nd floor, and all of which is being built on top of the existing foundation. So we're not going further than what the existing foundation has already given to us. And also, the biggest part of the addition is above the garage, and most of the addition that happens above the garage is also behind the setback line. So only what's exceeding the front yard setback line is 3 feet and 11 inches. And other than that, it's just a minor addition on the left and right. You can see on these drawings, it's very minor. And like I said, it's following the existing footprint.
Okay. And I neglected to note that there's a community planning condition requested to construct as illustrated on the site plan as it relates to the front yard setback. So I presume you're okay with that?
Yes.
And we also have a letter of opposition from the resident at number 16 Arcade regarding shadowing and privacy encroachments. Are you aware of that letter?
Yes. Maybe that's why I added my comment that most of the
Okay.
addition is behind the setback line. Just okay.
Okay. Anyone on the panel have any questions of Pamir before we go into committee? Okay, then let's go into committee, and I would invite a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just want to make a comment that the front yard setback is an existing situation, and I think that was illustrated in the discussion. The concerns from the neighbor are next to where the addition is happening, but as the applicant pointed out, it's an existing footprint, and I therefore find the application meets the 4 tests and would like to move approval subject to the planning condition as stated.
Just an amendment. I believe there's 4 conditions 1 and 2 as well.
Sorry, yes, there are. I'll take that as a friendly amendment. Thank you.
And I'll second it with that friendly amendment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Komorek and Ms. Ruddick. All in favor? That's unanimously approved. Thank you, Premier. We'll now move to item 3, 8 GORT Avenue, to construct a 2nd-story addition. We have 7 variances. And the only thing we have of note on file is a Metrolinx advisory. Is Mirka Kulesha, the agent, available?
Good morning. My name is Mirka Kulesha, and I'm indeed the agent for the owners. We are also designers on this project.
Okay. Mirka, would you like to make a brief presentation?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I need to repeat all the items that listing the variances. The variances, basically, it's a proposed 2nd floor addition to existing dwelling. We are not really changing the footprint at all. We are working on existing situation. So the variances concerning length, depth, the height of eaves are all resulting from existing situation. We have a house which is longer than zoning bylaw allows, deeper, and we have 1st floor elevation, which is about 1 meter and 40 centimeters higher than established grade. We were in contact with planning department, who expressed no concerns. We also worked with forestry, and we had the issue of neighbors' tree cleared. There was a question regarding conifer in the front yard on neighbor's property. We added the hoarding, the details to site plan, and basically got approval from forestry. That's basically all I can do. I can say the only increase in footprint comes from the fact that we are enlarging existing porch. And the 2nd floor addition contains a 4.5 square meter overhang above existing porch. So again, as I said, we are not changing the footprint. We are not really manipulating anything here.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions for Mirka?
One question, if I may, Mr. Chair. Mirka, are you aware, or what the variance for permitted lot coverage seems high, and I believe that's because of primarily because of the overhang. So it doesn't really affect drainage. But would you know what the percentage would be if it was for the ground footprint only? In other words, just the porch.
Thank you for this question. Actually, I forgot to mention the coverage of 43% stems from the fact that we included the area of roof above rear wall and leading to the rear part of the dwelling. If we didn't include it, so basically there is nothing there. There's no concrete, no changes to the footprint again. If we deducted this, we would arrive at 36.2%.
That's the number I was looking for. So I think that's your real coverage of what land area you're actually covering. So I just wanted to have that on record to show that we're not trying to set a precedent that it's okay to go from 33 to 43, but we think it's okay in this case because of the extenuating circumstance of the overhang. And I just wanted that to be clarified on record, that we're not setting a precedent that it's okay to go from 33 to 43. So based on that, I find the application to meet the 4 test, and I would like to move approval.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. Do we have a seconder?
I can second that.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? That's unanimously approved. Thank you, America. Moving now to item 4, 12 Thames Avenue. To construct a 2-story rear addition and a new attached garage. There are 3 variances. And we have Agent Hamid Hamati available to speak to us.
Yes,
Mr. Hamati?
Yes.
Again, it appears to be a pretty straightforward application. I'm just wondering if you, in lieu of a full presentation, if you'd be okay with answering any questions that the panel might have. Or do you wish to present?
No.
Again, if you do wish to present, I would suggest that you be brief.
No, I'm okay. It is very straightforward. And the items is one is the main floor height. It is 7 meter. We want to rise to 7.6 meter. And another items is the index, floor space index. And we want to increase because the owner has kids, family, and they want to live in this neighborhood, and they need more. They want 0.57 for floor space index, and also they want to have a balcony facing a backyard, and they want 8 square meter for balcony instead of 4.
Okay. Are you aware of an okay with urban forestry requesting conditions 1 and 2?
Yeah, there is no tree injured, and we already, the owner already have, a tree protection around the existing trees, and we sent the photos.
Well, based on urban forestry's comments, there are trees. So are you prepared to deal with them to resolve their conditions 1 and 2? Condition 1 has to deal with a city tree, and number 2, a private tree. Yes or no?
Yeah, for sure.
Mr. Chair, if I could add, in the additional materials, there were photographs of the tree protection zones around the existing trees in question. And I believe an application was also included in the additional materials as well.
Okay, but we do, if we're moving to approval, we do have to attach urban forestry conditions 1 and 2, correct?
Of course,
Yeah.
yes.
So I'm going to take that as a yes, sir, that you're okay with those conditions.
Yes.
And also the planning department has asked for a 1.5 meter privacy screen along the south side of the proposed rear deck. Are you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Panel, any other questions for Hamid? There being none, could I ask for a motion?
I'm happy to make that motion. I believe this application meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act and move for approval subject to community planning's condition that the owner shall provide a 1.5 meter high privacy screen along the south side of the rear deck and urban forestry conditions number 1 and 2.
Is there a seconder?
Oh, second.
Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? The application is approved. Thank you, Hamid.
Thank you so much.
Moving forward to item number 5, 23 Westmore Drive, Unit 1A, to permit a personal service shop in Unit 1A of the existing building. 1 variance. This, there was a previous decision on this matter, January 30th, 2020, for a personal service shop, which is approved until January the 1st, 2022. And in this current application, the planning department has recommended refusal, or if the committee chooses to approve it, that approval be limited to 2 years. So, the applicant is Dimpy Kumar. Dimpy, are you available to speak to us?
Yes. Good morning.
Dimpy?
Yes. Hello?
Yes. Hello. Yes.
Hi.
Could you please, I guess, explain a few things? Your personal service shop was approved until January the 1st, 2022. I guess why are you here? Why are you here a year and a half later? I'd like to know. And
No.
and how do you feel about the planning department? They very much like you to not be conducting this business in this location. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I got approval in 2020 in February, and right after COVID hit, and then I did not work during 2 years because I was in Toronto, so my business was closed for 2 years. So then I reapplied it, and then Committee of Adjustment, they granted me for minor variance for 2024. But I was planning to move out, but my husband, he had a big accident last year. Sorry. And then I'm really struggling right now. That's why all I need is a little bit of time to figure out my life and, things.
Yeah, we're sorry to hear. We're sorry to hear about that, Dimpy.
Yeah. And I am doing this business from last 19 years. The moment I found that this is important to have this type of license, I applied, and then they said you cannot do here. And then this is how I get to know that Committee of Adjustment things and stuff like that. And I'm not changing anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Of the applicant. How long have you been operating in this particular location at 23 Westmore? You said you've been in business for 19 years. Have you been operating there for 19 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, same location in February. February 2024. It will be 19 years.
So you've been there for a while. So you have built up your clientele over that period of time. There's still there's a restaurant there. It looks like there's a mattress store there. There's other. It's a mixed use plaza. It looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions of Dimpy?
Sure. Just a quick question, Dippy. So what type of services does your business offer, and how many customers? Is it like one at a time? Do you have a few staff, or is it just yourself?
I have usually I'm the one who is working. I have only one employee, and you know what? After COVID, I take only appointments. My main business is to offer eyebrows and waxing. Yes, I do hair too, but not much. But my main is facial, waxing, and threading.
Thanks for clarifying.
So the agent is correct, members. There was a decision. They did reapply in time and had a decision in 2022 for a further 2 years, expiring February 2nd, 2024.
Oh.
So right now they are operating correctly. I'm sorry.
Good to know.
it's not
Thank
in
you.
the package.
Okay, but you're trying to get a jump on that, which is understandable. Yeah. Are there any other questions for Dimpy?
I have a question of staff. So this would be legal non-conforming use?
No.
No, it's not. Okay.
It's another one of these situations where, yes, it's an industrial area, but it looks like, I mean, when you look at this on Google, it essentially looks like a retail mall. There's other retail businesses there. It looks like there's a bedding mattress place. Sorry, is yours there's something here called Amish Beauty Salon. Is that you or is that someone else?
Amisha Beauty Salon. Yeah.
That's yours?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say that we're trying to preserve an industrial use here when these units are all quite small. And, like, are we going to eventually try to get all of them to work their way out? I don't know. I mean, we've seen this before, so. And you're legally good till 2024, so my only comment is if we're going to extend, I would extend it beyond from that date rather than from today's date.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the question for the applicant, planning is recommending refusal. If you don't refuse, they're recommending 2 years, but so that the applicant can vacate the premises, not to continue to operate. So when making your decision, is your intention to let them continue to operate and then maybe give them a longer term or no term? Or do you agree with planning but want to give them an extension with the understanding from the applicant that they should find another location? Maybe the applicant can address that.
Yeah, I guess for me, sorry if I can just interject on that same thought, my thought process is, what's the tenure of the other businesses? Are they going to be there only for another 2 years? And,
That's a good question.
and we don't have the context for that.
I would ask the applicant what her lease situation is then. What is your what is your lease situation with the landlord?
I think I still have 4 years.
4 years? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can we, just thinking out loud here, can we make a motion then to extend it for the period of the lease?
You can make whatever motion you want.
I think that's reasonable.
Considering we don't have the lease before you, I would suggest just say for 4 years, and then we could give the date of when it expires. I'm not sure if she has any extensions to renew on that lease or not, but.
I think since the applicant has been there and operating for 19 years, and because it's a mixed use, small plaza, I'm happy to make a motion now, unless there are any questions.
Go ahead. So what's your motion?
So my motion is to actually extend, I move for approval for an extension not to exceed 4 years from the date of 2024. What date in 2024 was it? She's good until 2024.
Yeah, so February 2nd, 2024, so we'll calculate the date 4 years.
So that would be
from now.
February 2nd, 2028.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second. Happy to second.
All in favor? That's unanimously approved. Dimpy, we trust and
Thank
hope
you so very much.
everything's going to go well for you in all aspects of your life.
Thanks.
And
Thank you so
at
very
least you've got
much.
another.
We really appreciate that.
God bless you, Dimpy.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. We will now move to item 7, as number 6 was deferred. Okay. So item number 7 is 5 22nd Street. The purpose of the application is to construct a new garden suite in the rear yard. There is one variance, and this property was subject to a previous decision by this committee on November the 30th, 2021, where a second-story addition was approved with a 0.13 south side lot line and a 7.8 meter exterior main wall height. And we have urban forestry requesting condition number 2. So do we have Agent Ross DeFina available? Ross?
Hello, can you hear me?
Ross,
Hello?
you're going to need to log out of one of your devices. So you're logged in twice and it's causing a feedback.
Oh, I'm sure I'm only logged in once. I'll try this again. Sorry about that.
I'm just going to try and expel your other device here. If you can just stay where you
Okay.
are. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, perfect. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Russ DeFina. I am acting on behalf of the owners at 522nd Street. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, I guess, at this point.
Okay, I'll open it up for questions from the panel right now, and then we're also going to invite the neighbor from 722nd Street, Chow Duong, to speak. But just before we do that, are there any questions of Mr. DeFina? Yes, Ms. Alderson?
I have a question of the applicant. The previous decision for the second story, has that work being completed? Because I'm looking at Street View right now, and I don't see a second story on the existing dwelling.
So permit has been issued April 22nd, 2022. The owners have allowed the tenants to remain a little bit longer at their request. So at this time, they have not begun the construction, no.
Okay. So the construction of the garden suite, if we approve it today, the construction of the garden suite and the second story addition will be undertaken at the same time?
That would be the idea.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Chow Duong, are you available to speak to us?
Hello.
You're all approved here for virtual video. Chow, are you on the phone?
I asked, will they build a fence between?
Can you just
in the
state your
backyard?
name and address, please?
Your name and
Yes,
address?
my name is number 7, 22nd Street. My question is, will they build the fence in the backyard too?
Well, Mr. DeFina will answer your questions in his rebuttal, but is that the extent of what you want to say, ma'am?
That's all.
That's all? Okay. Okay, Mr. DeFina, can you respond to Ms. Duong?
Yes, if I heard that correctly, she's asking if we're going to build a fence along the property line between 522nd Street and 722nd Street. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I can obviously talk to the owners about that. I don't think it'll be an issue for them. Given the fact that they're doing a second story addition, they're going to have access to the rear yard. So the idea of replacing the fence is definitely a possibility.
Yeah, that's not something that we would stipulate or require as a condition of approval.
Right.
That's a civil matter between you and them, as you likely know, sir.
I will bring it to the attention of the owners for sure.
Yeah, okay. So let's go into committee. Oh, sorry, ma'am. Hello?
I have no question.
Didn't hear that. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move into committee then. Any more discussion, or are we ready for a motion?
Yeah, just a brief question. I'm noticing the rear yard parking space in the middle of the backyard in the back. That, with that parking space, you're still at your requested variance of, let me just see what it was. You're still able to do 44% of the rear yard with that parking space there. Is that correct?
Mr. DeFina?
Sorry, I seem to, oh, there we go. Sorry, I just got
Did you hear Mr. Komorik's question, sir?
I did.
Okay.
I did. That parking space, yes, was a requirement of the previous application and essentially has been approved through the committee back in November of 2021. Insofar as that parking space is concerned, it has reduced our landscape area at the rear by just under 2%, and this is why we're here today.
Okay, but so the 44% includes that parking space in it still?
That's correct.
Okay, that's fine. With that, I mean, given you're only 6% short and you're maintaining the parking space, I believe the application is minor, meets the 4 tests, and I would like to move approval subject to forestry condition 2.
Thank you, Mr. Komorik. Is there a seconder for Mr. Komorik's motion?
I'm very happy to second that. I think that, you know, garden suites are a new addition to our roster, so just want to make sure that it's done right, and it looks great. So I'm happy to second it.
Thank you. All in favor? That's unanimously approved. Thank you, Mr. DeFina, and thank you, Ms. Duong. We'll now look at item 8. We have a revised notice for this application. The purpose is to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. We have 6 variances, and we have a community planning requested condition to construct as illustrated on the site plan as it relates to the south side yard setback. And I believe that's it. Do we have Mehdi Ajvand?
Hi, good morning. My name is Nushin Mozaffari. My colleague couldn't make it for the presentation, so I'm representing the case.
Can you spell your name for our record?
Nushin. Yes, it's Nushin, Noushin. Last name is Mozaffari, Mozaffari, from Hyphen Studio, representing my client, owner of 36 Loma.
Okay. Would you like to make a very brief presentation on the application, or leave it up to questions that the panel may have of you?
I can do a brief presentation. This is a very straightforward application. For variance number 1 and 2, we are asking for lot coverage and FSI, which is within the approved range in the neighborhood. Number 3, we are asking for side setback on the south side. And if you look at the side elevation, the last page of my presentation material, you can see that this is only for the front portion of the house, and only 1 story for the garage and the area behind the garage in the basement, and the rest of the basement and whole main and second floor complies with the required setback. Number 4 is the first floor height, which is only 4 inches more than allowed, just to be able to reduce 1 step from inside layout. And number 5 is the wall height. We are asking for 7.42 instead of 7 meter. And the last one is the width of the walkout stairs, which is obviously going down to the basement, and it's not visible from the outside. And I believe many walkouts have more width than 2 meter to have better light for the basement. That's it, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions for the agent?
I was going to ask what's the difference between the previous and the revised, but I don't think we need to do that. I just would like to make a comment that my only issue with this application was a side yard setback. Planning and the agent have both explained quite well why it is minor, and on that basis, I'd like to move approval. And I believe that's why planning has that condition to make sure that that side yard setback is for those specific situations only. So based on that, I'd like to move approval subject to the planning condition.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kamork. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Ms. McCloskey, thank you. All in favor? Your application is approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving to item 9.
For this item, Mr. Chair, the revision page before you is incorrect, so the agent will have to outline all of their revisions because some of their information was, I think, difficult to decipher, and then we missed a few changes, so they'll have to outline their changes.
Okay. I guess the only substantial thing we have in the file material, there's an opposition letter. However, I don't see anyone registered to speak. Is Marco Vieira available? Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
It's Mehdi
members of the
Ajlan.
committee.
Oh yeah, number 9. Marco.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Did you hear the
and
Deputy
designer.
Secretary Treasurer's remarks about the need to have you go through all of the revisions to your revision page, just to clarify what we're actually dealing with here?
Yes, certainly. I'm actually prepared to do that, and I do have the outlined variances in front of me that I can go over.
Okay. If you can proceed then.
Thank you. So through Mr. Chair, the application before you is to construct a 2-story addition to the front and north side of the existing 1-story dwelling with a new 2nd story. We have discussed our design proposal with planning, and as a result, we have made some considerable changes that we feel bring the overall proposal more in keeping with the bylaw. So variance number 1, originally we were asking for 42% for a lot coverage. That has been reduced to 36.82% with a total area of 189.79 square meters. Variance number 2, we have increased the front yard setback from 6.06 to 6.58 meters. Variance number 3 will pertain to the side yard setback on the north side. That has been increased to 1.2 meters, and the south setback of 1.23 has remained. Variance number 4 was also reduced as a result of us shifting part of the 2nd floor and reducing the width of the house. So the proposed length is now 18.06 meters. Originally was 18.23 meters. Variance number 5, it referred to the encroachment of the eaves. And this one's probably a little bit different. So part of it will remain the same, but the second half of the variance is going to change. So the proposed roof eaves will encroach 2.42 to the proposed side eaves will encroach 1.21 down from 1.5 meters. And this will be located 0.59 from the north side property line. The south eaves will remain the same at 1.0 meters, and it will be located 0.71 meters from the south lot line. And variance number 6 has been removed entirely.
Okay.
So we believe, and also to address, maybe touch upon the comments with regards to the neighbor's letter, we believe that our proposal doesn't actually negatively impact them, as the house is being brought forward, but is not going to stick out any further than the existing porch that is on the front of the existing dwelling. The reduction on the side yard setbacks is typical to the surrounding properties. And with the reduction of the overall lot coverage, we believe that this proposal is minor and it does meet the 4 tests.
Okay, thank you. A question for Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer. Should the committee agree to move towards approval with conditions, would it be sufficient for us to refer to the revisions articulated by Mr. Vieira today?
Yes.
Could we handle it that way?
Yes.
Because you've documented what he said.
That's correct.
Perfect. Okay. So any questions of Mr. Vieira from the panel?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the front yard setback. Sorry, I missed what the new number is going to be for variance 2.
Through you, Mr. Chair, variance number
6.58.
2, correct. It was 6.06. It's now 6.58, and that is only for a small portion of the corner of the garage.
And
The
can the
other part of the
agent
dwelling.
I can see that on the drawing, but so here's my dilemma. If I were to tie that to a drawing, would the drawing that you provided illustrate that situation, or the plans show the previous to revision?
You have the revised plans in your package, which
Yes.
do show the 6.58.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to clarify. Thank
Yes.
you.
And can the agent confirm
That's correct.
the purpose? Because I don't think it's just a north side addition. Like, what is the true purpose of the application?
Well, the purpose of the application is to construct a 2-story north side addition, a new rear deck, a proposed new cabana in the ground with an in-ground swimming pool.
So it's the same as what it was before, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
The reductions were made to the size of the cabana. Setbacks were shifted to ensure that we comply in order to reduce and eliminate some of the proposed variances.
Okay, are there any other questions? So I'll invite a motion then for a decision on this one. Mr. Kumar?
Yeah, I'm good to go with the motion. I believe it does meet the 4 tests and is minor. I would like to move a motion to approve as revised, with it being tied to the site plan with regards to the front yards, as it relates to the front yard setback. And I believe there's no conditions.
Okay, is there a seconder for Mr. Kumar's motion? Ms. Alderson, thank you very much. All in favor? That's a unanimous approval. Thank you very much, Mr. Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Okay, moving to item number 10, 1 SPEERS Avenue. The purpose is to construct a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling. There are 2 variances. With the information on file includes a 27 signature support petition and a community planning recommendation for refusal based on FSI. We have agent Ida Evangelista, and we have a neighbor registered to speak, Nicholas Lawless. Can I first call on Ida Evangelista?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owner of 1 SPEERS. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, a little tweak up would help. Here, try it again.
Is that better?
Oh, it's awesome. Perfect.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. In front of you, you have an application for an addition alteration to an existing single-family dwelling at the corner of SPEERS and Gibson Avenue. We are asking for additional FSI. The intent here is to build a second floor to accommodate a multi-generational and a my goodness, I'm at a loss of words here. It's like the Brady Bunch, 2 families getting together, so they do need the space. So this particular house, we are using the exact footprint of what is there. The reason why planning has the comment that they have is because this, I believe there's 2 streets that there really hasn't been much activity. However, if you take a look at the pictures that I submitted, and perhaps even some of you have had the opportunity to go through the neighborhood, you'll see that there is an eclectic mix. We have 3 stories, we have a lot of 2 stories, we have semi-detached, and we have single family 2 stories, single family dwellings. So we are asking for an additional 80.51 square meters just for the second floor, which in my respectful opinion, I can submit that that is not egregious. The owner himself, he approached all the neighbors on SPEERS, on Wright, on Gibson. As you can see, we have 27 letters of support. We do have the front stair, but that is an existing situation. The stairs are going to be placed back to where they are. And then the only other additional variance that we have is asking for that 80.51 square meters. We do not have height, length, setbacks, landscape coverage. We have no other variance other than wanting to put an additional, a second story on this footprint. So this neighborhood, it is designated neighborhood under the official plan. It does acknowledge that while stable, neighborhoods are subject to physical change in the form of additions. This area has undergone a regeneration, as you can see from the photos that I've submitted to you. And there are many homes, as I've mentioned. So what we're proposing, I respectfully submit, will not destabilize the neighborhood, and it will allow for continued evolution of this neighborhood. There is reinvestment in this area in a manner that respects the plant context and existing built form. As I mentioned, we have no height, no length, no side yards. And the variances that we are proposing will not result in any impacts on neighboring properties or adversely impact the character of the neighborhood. The proposed application is desirable, appropriate use of the subject lands, consistent with the official plan and provincial policy statement. It is a minor form of intensification. It respects and reinforces the physical character of the neighborhood. And in my respectful opinion, this application does meet the 4 tests. It is in keeping with the purpose and intent of the OP and ZBL. It is appropriate and desirable for the area. And I'm open to any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Evangelista. Before we invite the neighbor, Nicholas Lawless, to speak, do any of the panel members have any questions for Ms. Evangelista?
Just trying to clarify, you mentioned that this is for 2 families, but you're not suggesting it's 2 separate units, so it's 2 families living as one cohabitated
Correct.
dwelling. Okay.
Yeah, we have, it's a mix. It's multi-generational. It involves, parents. It involves two families that have joined together.
No, got it. I mean, that's with the housing prices, we're going to be seeing more of this. So, okay, thank you.
And this is a home that he purchased, and life changes, and he now needs space to accommodate the family.
Thank you. Ms. Alderson, you had a question?
Yeah, this property is right at the corner of Speers and Gibson. And on Gibson, directly across from this particular property, it looks to be fairly dense properties. They have the appearance of being 3 stories. They're not really 3 stories, but there's a basement involved. And I'm just wondering if you happen to know the FSI of any of those properties that are directly opposite this particular one that you're developing.
Through you, Mr. Chair, member, this is a subdivision. We tried extensively to gather this information. This is a subdivision. This whole area was rebuilt. And from what we can determine of some of the homes that have been up for sale, and just, data that we can gather through the real estate forum, these are FSIs from anywhere from about 0.60 to about 0.65. Some of the, and it is an eclectic, pattern of lot sizes. Some are larger, some are smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But the homes that are directly across are very similar to what we are proposing. And it's unfortunate that staff just took a look at what has transpired on Speers itself.
Yeah, I was going to say that exactly. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Evangelista. I'm now going to invite the immediate neighbor to 1 Speers Avenue, Nicholas Lawless from 3 Speers Avenue. Nicholas, you are here.
And
welcome.
My name is Nicholas Lawless. I'm the owner and resident of the neighbouring house, 3 Speers Avenue, a 2-bedroom bungalow. I wish to present my objection to the requested variances of the zoning bylaw. On the first variance, first I object that the prospective building is desirable or appropriate for the land in question. As the submitted plans show, what can easily be a triplex apartment building, making no effort to blend into its surroundings, looking only to maximise and presumably monetize its square footage. Of the images of the homes submitted by the applicant, only 3 are actually subject to the same zoning laws: 198 right, 206 right, and 5 Speers. All 3 of these buildings are smaller than the proposed building and have much larger setbacks from their neighbouring buildings. All are separated by at least a full driveway, unlike the proposed building, which has only a 1.8 metre setback from the neighbouring building, my home. The 1.8 metre setback between the applicant's building and my home is the smallest distance in the localised zoning area. The applicant has not included images of any of the homes on the same street, Speers, with the exception of 5 Speers, the only 2-storey building on Speers, which I would like to use as a prime example of a home that has made every effort to live harmoniously in its surrounding architecture. I suggest the applicant take note of this and try to emulate 5 Speers in future applications for this lot. Second, I would like to address how this application would affect my legal enjoyment of my own property. I will lose a significant amount of daylight, both inside my home and in my backyard if this application is approved. The daylight that comes through the windows of the rear of my home, which includes the windows to my 2 bedrooms and my kitchen, will be impacted. The applicant is requesting to extensively exceed the allotted floor space with a plan to extend the floor space past the footprint of the house and build the top of an unfinished garage. This can easily be seen on the applicant's own location map, and how I will lose all west by southwest to western light by this proposed allowance of a monolithic structure. The proposal includes a balcony which will become a gallery for invading the privacy of my garden and the bedrooms of my children and I. Once again, these buildings have the smallest setbacks between each other in the whole local zoning area. I believe this flies in the face of the original intent of the zoning bylaw, which is to prohibit excessive growth of a home into a building and protects residents from having the use and enjoyment of their modest homes molested. Third, the applicant has not put forward any compelling points as to why he needs this variance or how hardship will be endured if the variance is not granted. The applicant has never lived in the residence nor expressed any intent to take up residence. The applicant is developing the property in order to maximise his profit by maximising square footage. Fourth, the requested variance is not minor in nature. The applicant is seeking an increase of floor space index from 0.4 to 0.62, an increase of 55%. This is 11 times more than the example given on the Committee of Adjustments brochure. Such an increase to the floor space is not minor and serves only to bloat a house into a building that is not appropriate for the space. I would like to note the applicant has listed a file of 27 letters of support, despite not one of these letters expressing support or endorsement. On the second variance, I object simply on the grounds that it too will only further grow this overinflated proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless. Do we have any questions for Mr. Lawless before we engage Ms. Evangelista again?
Just a quick question. If the applicant was to add a second story to this property, you know, that would be his right. So something that is similar on the other side of you would be okay with you.
I very much believe so. Toronto is growing. Everything is going up. It is a fact. I think he's coming far too far back, allowing for balconies that are, as I said, invasive my privacy. Something more reviewed, like 5 Spears, the architecture aside, but something like 5 Spears, I think, would be a much more welcome addition to the neighbourhood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Evangelista, could you please respond to Mr. Lawless?
Yes, a couple of comments that he made about, you know, no, I didn't include pictures on Spears. I included pictures of likeness of what we are proposing to do. And as I mentioned, that there has not been much activity, although it is starting and in this on this general street. The 5 Spears, the layout is very similar to what we're proposing. So the house would be the same. They actually have an FSI of just shy of 0.63. So it would be same as or very characteristic to what we are doing. We do not have a height on this on the home that we are proposing. We are below, our height is 7.2 meters. So even if we were to put a pitch on this home, which we're allowed 10 meters, with a main wall height of 7.5, we are below what would be the main wall height of a pitched home. We're at 7.2 meters. So again, this is an area that is, you know, being rebuilt. These are, you know, homes that people are wanting to stay in. It's right at Jane and Lawrence. We do have a deck and a balcony at the rear. We could put privacy screening on the second floor if that would be a condition that the members would want me to engage in. I'm okay with that, just to give him privacy. As I said, we do not go beyond our length. The length of our home is 11 meters on his side. Whereas we are permitted, well, as of right, you're permitted 17 meters. So even if we were to do something along those lines, we're keeping it all within. We've been very, the owner's been very gradual and very gentle to what it is he's doing. And that's why he has been very careful to use the exact footprint of what's there. We're not asking for side yard setbacks. I know one of the comments, I missed it because it kind of broke in and out. One of the comments was regarding the setbacks, but we do not have any setback variances. So we are well below what would be permitted as a main wall height. We're at 7.2 meters. Our length is 11 meters on his side. It staggers. And as I said, we are willing to put a privacy screening on the balcony on the second floor. And I believe I touched all his comments.
Thank you, Ms. Evangelista. Are there any questions of Ms. Evangelista from the panel?
Yeah, just if I may, Mr. Chair, planning in the planning report, they say that they had discussions with the applicant to revise a proposal, but there was no revisions provided. Can you please comment on that? I mean, what was your interaction with planning around that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, members, you know that we always, if there's a way of working with planning, I'm always amenable to that. In this particular situation, we did actually try to make some changes to the application. However, planning at that point still was not satisfied. Planning wanted us to come down to about a 0.52, 0.53. In which case then, with the greatest of respect, the house may as well just stay as it is because, as I mentioned, this is multi-generational, a blended family, and just adding a couple of 100 square feet really would not address the needs of the family. This is a home that they have that they want to grow into. And that is the reason why we are at this impasse at this time. But again, I will add through you, Mr. Chair Member, what we're proposing, adding an additional 80 square meters approximately, I respectfully submit that it is not egregious. You see when you walk through the neighborhood, when you walk through the neighborhood with your dog, you're going to see, there are 3 stories. There are some homes that appear as a 3-story, but there are 2-story because the garage is out of the ground, and the stairs are quite high. There are semi-detached. This is an eclectic area, and this is a neighborhood. And just by the 27, the applicant, the owner was, quite honest, showing plans and what it is that is being proposed. They were all quite happy. He did knock at number 3 several times. However, there was no answer. And, this is something that would be very complementary to the neighborhood. It's at a corner that when you enter, it is not different than what is across the street.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I may have a small one. I just have one question. So you've said that number 5 Spears is 0.63. Are you're 100% certain that that's in fact the case?
Through you, Mr. Chair, as I mentioned, from what we can determine on what the size of the home is, like what the calculation is of the footprint of the home, of all the bedrooms. This is a calculation that, we've gone through extensively, both my assistant and I, going through House Sigma, Realtor.com, and going through, trying to get some information on Geo Warehouse. But from what we can determine, yes. I can't say to you, black and white.
You're not 100%,
right?
You're not 100% certain that it's 0.63.
Because, but I will say it is the exact same footprint. It is a little bit longer than what we're proposing. It is a little bit higher than what we're proposing. So from what we can determine on the calculation of the floor area of the first and second floor, yes, including including 2 homes behind us on right, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McCloskey, you had a question?
My only comment is just, I understand like it's across the street. I guess views northwest and views west, but that's a multi-unit example, this, to me, it still is a single, family dwelling inherently, and the basement is mostly entertainment uses. Anyways, it's, yeah, just an observation, but thank you.
Multi. Can I ask a question?
Yep.
I'm sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, the comment about multi-unit.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify, I was talking about the views northwest, so looking at, 3-story, just looking at it more as like a row townhouse
Right,
and a semi.
Yeah, the photographs that I provided.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not number 5, to clarify. Thanks.
Is there anything else from the panel? Then let's move into committee for some discussion and/or a motion. Mr. Kumar?
I just want to make a comment. The extent of the variance for the square footage, by comparison to other applications that we've seen and we see, it doesn't seem that excessive. So I'm still struggling with why planning is so adamant that it's out of character, but then the fact that they have made that statement does concern me. So it's one of those in between and betwixt situations.
Can I make a comment? Yeah, I just, aside from number 5, there's just very small bungalows on the street. So it would set a precedent. I think probably the massing is looked at differently because of the flat roof. I happen to like flat roof design, but it does present a different density for sure. So yeah, I just wanted to comment, that's all. If number 5 is 0.63 FSI and it's 2 doors away, it's comparable.
So we need to make a decision on this, and to do that, we need a motion.
I'll make one more comment, just that there aren't a lot of other variances, as was pointed out by the applicant. There's no setback, there's no height variances. So again, it's a bit perplexing. This is one of these where I'd like to have planning staff to be able to interview on this one. But anyway, that's my comment.
So
Okay, lots to think about.
I'm not weighing in. I'm prepared to make a motion. I'm not supporting it. So I'm concerned, like looking at the views as well. I'm concerned about the density issues identified by planning. And for that reason, I'd move that we refuse this application. I don't feel that it meets the 4 tests.
Okay, so we have a motion to refuse. Do we have a seconder? Ms. McCloskey seconds. So the vote is on a motion to refuse the application. All in favor? Opposed? So that motion was defeated 3-2. So now we need another motion.
I think the only other motion we can do is to approve. And I just think given the context of, if this wasn't the corner lot, I think I'd be more inclined to refuse. But given that the context here is a little bit muddled, and I think we need to intensify. And the fact that there aren't other variances appearing here compels me to believe that it does meet the 4 tests. And therefore, I'd like to move approval.
Can I make a friendly amendment for a privacy screen on the 2nd floor balcony? I think that was an issue that the neighbor had. And I'm happy, and I think the applicant is happy to appease that.
Sure.
Are you okay with that amendment, Mr. Kumar?
Absolutely. I didn't think of it because the balcony wasn't a variance, but.
Can you tell us how high, which size?
Is it
1.5?
1.5 meters?
That's standard, yeah.
That's standard.
And on
the
which
second,
sides?
the 2nd floor balcony, it is adjacent to the neighbor's home at number 3.
Okay, so we have a motion that has been seconded to approve with conditions. All in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. So the application is approved with conditions. That's right. Yeah. Yes, so thank you, Ms. Evangelista, and thank you, Mr. Lawless. Now, I have been asked by 2 of my colleagues for a short break. I'm not going to identify those people, but I'm supportive as well. And I'm sorry, Mr. Eagleman. I know you've been patient, but this might be a long one, and probably that's why you're here. Anyway, so we'd like to do that. Maybe reconvene at 11:20. 11:20. Is that okay? All right. So let's recess until 11:20.
That was a hard one. I had no time with that, but when she said number 5 was 0.63, I figured, and it's on a corner, so it doesn't have quite the same impact on the street.
Yeah, from a phone perspective, for sure.
I always say, look at it as a pie crust. The crust on the outer is higher than the filling, and it's on the outer.
Yeah, no, it's very true.
I wouldn't have approved that had it been in the middle of the street.
No.
It was just different because it was on the.
I can copy.
He is coming back too. Yeah. Where do you live? Well, I'm sure they'll approve. West End, like, Duffins is the area. Oh, okay. Okay, so you're in the West End. I'm downtown, so I did say that I would go to Toronto until they needed me, but apparently they didn't. Oh, okay. So, I live at Davenport and Young, but I used to live in Weston, so I know the West End really, really well. And I work in Mount Dennis, so.
I had a lot of like I had a complex, like there's a lot of construction at the time.
Did you sit on? Okay, and you decided you didn't want to be on T-Lab anymore?
I got a concussion, and then I couldn't do it, and then when I got better, there was no vacancy, and I love it more. I should have started here. I like the panel. It's so much work on T-Lab. Like it's just like fun.
T-Lab is too intense.
Yeah. For part time, like when you work.
Do you know Ron Cantor?
No.
That's the shortest agenda we've ever had.
Yeah, seriously.
I'll cut you some slack.
It was a hard one. It was a hard one, but we got the privacy screen. We got the privacy screen.
I didn't realize this is my last one. I'm a little sad now. I thought I still had one more.
Yeah, maybe Rick Ross.
I don't even know who Rick Ross is.
I really hope it is.
The comedy does that, but I would be ecstatic.
How about Drake? We can do Drake.
Jake, he would disapprove of every monster home. Or the Bella's Run Dry. Pull that up, but I think we're running out of time.
It's 11:24. We're already 4 minutes over.
Let's do this thing.
It's a 25-minute break, people. Yep, we're ready.
Okay, thank you for allowing us a short break. We'll now move to item 11, which is 63 the Kingsway. We have Agent David Eagleman with us. This application is to construct front and rear additions to the existing building, resulting in a 3-story dwelling. There are 2 variances, and we can ask Mr. David Eagleman, among other things, to take us through the short history of this application. It was deferred early in the year. There was a refusal in February of a 3-story rear addition proposal, 454.7 meters squared FSI and a 9.75 meter height. And now we're dealing with the current application. So we have, as well as Mr. Eagleman, we have area resident Mary Lynn Fennis from 7 Strath Avenue, who will invite to speak shortly. But firstly, Mr. Eagleman, please tell us why you're here.
Yes, good morning, Sir Chair and committee members. David Eagleman, 900 the East Mall, Suite 300. I am a senior planner at Design Plan Services here on behalf of the property owner. So I will provide a brief presentation, Mr. Chair, if you would like, through you. I did provide a detailed justification letter. Yes, I did. So I provided a detailed justification letter. I would hope that the committee did have time prior to this hearing to go through that letter. So I will stay relatively high level in my presentation, but I'll note that we have consulted with planning staff. They have expressed no concerns or objections with this now revised application. No city departments or relevant commenting agencies have expressed any concerns or objections that I am aware of regarding this application. There are also neighbors in support, and those support letters have been submitted to the committee. Specifically, one of the immediately adjacent neighbors to the west at 65 the Kingsway is in support of the application. And again, I did provide a detailed justification letter, but in summary, the proposal has been revised relatively substantially relative to the previous Committee of Adjustment application that was ultimately refused, and specifically the the floor space index or gross floor area has been reduced by just short of 1,000 square feet. So there has been a reduction, a relatively significant reduction to the floor space. And in regards to that variance, it will be spread over 3 floors, and it is an addition, so the altered dwelling is compliant with the maximum permitted height, maximum permitted main wall height, all required setbacks, and all required landscaping provisions as per the bylaw. And those provisions, as the committee may know, are also provisions which serve to regulate the overall massing of a dwelling on the subject property. And the fact that the altered dwelling is compliant with most of the provisions which regulate massing demonstrates that the proposal will be in keeping with the existing neighborhood character and will have little to no impact further than what the bylaw already contemplates. The altered dwelling will maintain a sloped roof design, and the built form, as mentioned, will be in keeping with the existing character. I have watched the previous committee application, and I note that in the previous application, the committee was looking for other FSI/GFA approvals. So I have conducted that research, and just to provide a few examples of those, 58 the Kingsway was approved at 150 square meters plus 30.5% for a GFA of 343.65 square meters. 64 the Kingsway was approved at 150 square meters plus plus 57% of the lot area for a total GFA of 493.13 square meters. 66 The Kingsway was approved at 150 plus 31.21% of the lot area for a GFA of 351.24 square meters. 68 The Kingsway was approved at 150 plus 36.57%. Sure. Too loud? A little bit. Okay. And, sorry, so 68 The Kingsway was approved at 36.57% of the lot area plus 150 square meters for a total GFA of 381.41 square meters, and so on. I have other examples if the committee would like me to go through those, but for the sake of time, I will move on to the proposed building depth, which just briefly is measured to a below-grade portion of the basement, which only has a covered porch or a rear deck above it, and that covered deck is supported by columns, so there's no main walls associated with that rear deck. The dwelling itself is actually compliant with the maximum permitted depth, and the length of the dwelling is actually 13.98 meters, so it's 3.02 meters less than the maximum permitted length on the subject property. So based on the provided justification, I'm of the opinion that this proposal meets the four tests under Section 45(1) of the Planning Act and will be in keeping with the existing character of the neighborhood and the development trends within the neighborhood and on the street. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Mr. Eagleman. Are there any questions for David before we move along? Mr. Komarek?
Just a really brief one. I'm assuming you would not be opposed to, in the event that we were to approve, that we tie it to site plan with regards to building depth.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is acceptable, Member Komarek.
Anything else before we move on? Okay, I'd like to invite Mary Lynn Finesse to speak up. You're registered for virtual video.
Mary, I'm just moving you to a panelist now, so you're now able to turn your video on.
Morning. I can make my statement and I must go. I'm very, very late for something.
There you are.
But thank you for needed to speak. My name is Mary Lynn Finesse. I live at 7 Strath Avenue. I'm a long-term resident of the Kingsway. I currently live behind the proposed structure, and I have direct sight lines to the house and the natural landscape that it occupies. I'm certainly not qualified to dispute an expert on planning things, but I hope the committee members have read the letter submitted by my neighbors who are not here to speak today to question the actual square footage requested. So please review those before making a decision. I commend the applicants for the improved plans. In terms of the architecture, fits the neighborhood much better, so that's wonderful. My objection relates to both of the requested variances and on the topic of size. I'm opposed to exceeding the maximum permitted gross floor area because the proposed structure will be very imposing on the lot and it will detract from the aesthetics of the streetscape. It will remove the comfortable and consistent spacing between the homes. Effectively, this takes away from the natural environment that we enjoy in the community, and it basically ruins the view for those of us behind. There are lovely trees there. There's space that we can see. In my view, the bylaws are permissive and they set appropriate boundaries for expansion. They're there to maintain the character of the neighborhood, which is particularly relevant on an undisturbed showpiece this, and I think some of the cases that were just cited a moment ago are on ravine lots, not necessarily on this block. In the previous meeting, it was stated that the owners fell in love with the Kingsway for its beauty, as we all did and do. We have that in common, and none of us wish to chip away at the landscape as it exists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Lynn. Any questions for Mary Lynn from the panel? Okay, there being none. David, would you like to come up to the podium again and offer your rebuttal?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So through you, Mr. Chair, I will note that the number of examples I provided are approvals within the neighborhood. If the committee would like, I can peruse through my research of previous approvals and see if there are specifically any decisions within the block itself. But there's a number of decisions on the street and throughout the broader neighborhood, and those are relevant comparables to the proposal. And the resulting GFA through this application is very much in line with those approvals. So just to provide some context, the average of a number of approvals throughout the neighborhood is, in terms of GFA, is 365.48 square meters. So the size of the dwelling is very much in line and in keeping with the neighborhood. As you may know, the city is currently looking through the EHON work that is being conducted at actually eliminating FSI. Not only for, it's already been eliminated for multiplexes. Laneway suites and garden suites are not subject to an FSI. The city is looking to go more in the direction of a form-based standard in terms of regulating massing on a lot, because if you can fit your dwelling within an as-of-right footprint in terms of setbacks, height, length, depth, then that demonstrates that, you know, why also restrict the maximum floor space when you can fit within that as-of-right envelope. And considering the only substantial variance being requested is the FSI, the depth, again, is only related to the below grade portion of the dwelling. And on top of that, it's only a request, an increase of 1.2 meters. The dwelling itself is within the as-of-right envelope. There is no setback variances, no landscaping variances. The proposal is compliant with all other provisions of the bylaw. And so, in my opinion, the proposal is in keeping with the existing neighborhood character. The massing fits with the neighborhood. And I have reviewed the number of objection letters submitted for this application. I responded to the ones I reviewed at the time I prepared my justification letter. So I did provide some responses to a couple letters in the justification letter, but it seems that with all due respect, a number of the neighbors are concerned with matters that are unrelated to the variances themselves. So while I hear the neighbors and I understand them, this is not a heritage neighborhood. There is no heritage status of the subject property or the neighborhood itself and any nearby properties. And this proposal meets the 4 tests and is in keeping with the existing character of the neighborhood.
Thanks, Mr. Eagleman. Any questions from the panel for Mr. Eagleman? Mr. Kumar.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just some of the concerns noted by the neighbors relate to trees, and I believe your arborist addressed some tree issues here, that there could be injury to a couple of trees. Curious why forestry hasn't chimed in. I'm assuming you wouldn't be opposed to us imposing a forestry condition.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I wouldn't be opposed to a forestry condition. However, as the committee is aware, if for any tree injuries or removals, we have to deal with urban forestry and obtain the necessary permits for trees that are regulated. So even if this application were to be approved without any forestry conditions and there were tree injuries or removals, we would have to obtain those permits. So on that basis, I have no issues with imposing those conditions. And just to clarify, there are 2 trees that the arborist report has indicated at the front of the property to be injured. However, the arborist report notes that the trees will be preserved and protected with appropriate mitigation measures. And I believe the arborist recommends hand excavation for those trees, for any work in proximity to those trees. And also, I'll note, unrelated to the variances, it's for a proposed walkway at the front of the property. So long answer for a quick question, but yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I'm okay with those conditions.
Members, just to note, there are no recommended conditions from Urban Forestry for this application, and they will only provide sign-off if they've recommended, so it will create a problem for an applicant to try to get clearance, because Urban Forestry won't provide sign-off if they haven't recommended something.
Yeah, I was going to make the same observation. I don't think we've got grounds to impose a condition that hasn't been requested. And it sounds like we have a good agent and applicant here to do the right thing anyway on the forestry side of things. So let's move into committee and hear any last minute comments that anybody might have or consider a motion.
I just have a comment. I do think it's unfortunate that everybody in the city knows the Kingsway. I mean, that is one of the most beautiful streets in our city. And I think it's unfortunate that we're tearing down some of our old architecture, whether they're protected by heritage or not. This happened in Forest Hill, to the point where Forest Hill is no longer really recognizable anymore because it's been completely transformed. So I do understand some of the neighbors' concerns about this. However, I do believe the design that you put forward is very sympathetic to the surrounding homes, and I'm not here to oppose it. I just wanted to make that comment. That's all.
Okay. Any other comments, or are we ready for a motion?
I'm good for a motion if there's no other questions or comments. I find that the revised application, I guess revised from what we've been before us previously, does meet the 4 tests. I would like to move approval. However, I would like to put the one condition on, and that is just to tie it to the site plan with regards to the dwelling depth. And no other conditions, since I think we've addressed the forestry issue.
Okay, do we have a seconder for Mr. Komarik's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. McCloskey. All in favor? That is unanimously approved, Mr. Eagleman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
Mr. Eagleman is the agent for item 15, and they're going to be asking for a deferral, so he just wanted to know if we could deal with that now.
Sure, we okay with that? Mr. Eagleman's here, so. Okay, let's skip forward to number 15 then. Bear with me, I'm a very linear person. Throwing me off balance.
Apologies, Mr. Chair.
So we have here firstly an application for consent. This is 106 and 108 Simon Street to obtain consent to sever the property into 2 undersized lots. And then we have variance applications for each part. 8 variances for part 1. Seven variances for part 2. We have on file engineering and construction services conditions and a planning report for information. So that's all we have. Oh, yes, sorry. Forestry conditions 1, 2, and 3. And we don't have any registered speakers other than Mr. Eagleman. So, sir, please.
Yes.
Please tell us about your proposals.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, to state my name on the record again, David Eagleman, Design Plan Services, Inc., Senior Planner here on behalf of the owner. We're requesting a deferral because the zoning notices had errors on them, and unfortunately that also made its way onto the public notices, and as a result we are currently waiting for updated zoning notices so that we can subsequently provide that to committee staff to update the public notices and get on a new hearing date.
Any questions for Mr. Eagleman on his deferral request? Then can I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the deferral of the application to make changes to the notice to reflect accurate information.
And do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Ms. Reddick? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Eagleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. Have a great day, everyone.
We will see you next time. Okay, moving back to number 12. 39 Acorn Avenue. Purpose is to construct a second story above the existing dwelling. Two variances, minimum required front yard setback, and another one regarding side yards. We have no registered speakers. We have a requested condition from community planning to construct as illustrated on the site plan as it relates to the front yard setback, and we have a Metrolinx advisory. Do we have the agent, Rick Bongers, available, it says here, by virtual audio? Mr.
Yes,
Bongers.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Could you please give us your name and address, please?
Yeah, Rick Bongers, 75 Redwood Avenue, Cambridge.
Thank you. So I don't think we need an elaborate presentation from you here, sir. Would you be okay just to proceed with answering any questions that might come from the panel here?
Certainly.
Okay, well, let's do that. Panel, any questions for Mr. Bongers? Okay, seeing none, may I call for a motion?
I move that we accept this application. I find it meets the 4 tests and there are no conditions. There are conditions? Community planning condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. Do I have a seconder for Ms. Reddick's motion?
I'll second, just noting, yeah, it seems like a straightforward application.
Thank you, Ms. McCloskey. All in favor? The application has been approved. Thank you, Mr. Bongers. Okay. Next application is 127th Street. Purpose is to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling. Again, 2 variances, one for floor space index and one for front yard setback. Pretty straightforward application. We do have a support petition. We have an okay from the planning department. We have originally Urban Forestry requesting deferral, but in a September 18th email, they have requested conditions 1 and 2. Ben Baghdadi, are you available to speak to us?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Yes.
Okay.
This is Ben Baghdadi from
Okay.
BBA Design Inc.
Thank you.
I'm the architect and the applicant for this application before you. And yes, we have 2 minor variances, and we have the forestry originally deferral request, and then they changed it to if committee decide to approve this application, the committee can add condition number 1 and 2, which we are absolutely okay with those 2 conditions.
Good to know. Thank you. Are there any questions from the panel for Ben? If not, I'll invite a motion. Mr. Kamara?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I believe the application meets the 4 tests. Thank you for the site plan and the added material, clarified things a little bit. And I would like to move approval, subject to forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. McCloskey. All in favor? Again, unanimously approved. Thank you, Mr. Baghdadi. Item number 14. And our last item of the day. 32 SWAN Avenue. Purpose is construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. 1 variance for FSI. We have no comments from agencies or requests for conditions. We do have a letter of opposition from, I guess, 3 doors down at 26 SWAN regarding the floor space index. However, they have not registered to speak to us, but that's what their concern is. Is John Cozen available to speak to us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Cozen, a very simple, straightforward single variance here for a small adjustment to the floor space index. So I would ask our panel if they have any questions for you. There being none, I would invite a motion.
There are no questions. I'll move to approve the application. Again, another straightforward one, and yes, believe it meets the 4 tests.
Is there a seconder for Ms. McCloskey's motion?
I'll second.
Ms. Ruddock, all in favor? Unanimously approved. Thank you, Mr. Cozen. Now, one thing I failed to ask about at the outset was, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do we have any matters to close?
None today, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So I think my last duty is to call for a motion to adjourn.
I always like to give that one. So
Ms. Alderson, I thank you very much, and I understand that those motions don't need a seconder. However, all in favor?
Thank you, members.
Thank you, staff.
Thanks, everyone.